let me get this straight. Blake Lively and her publicists are out there slamming Justin Baldoni for creating an unsafe workplace. Meanwhile, Blake Lively's defunct lifestyle brand was so toxic and unprofessional, they had to cover up multiple potential lawsuits. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor, and I am so sick of the Hollywood and powerful cover-ups. That's why we've been reporting on the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni case, because it's a lot more than just on-set drama. No, this is Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, her publicity team, the agents, all these people trying to just destroy the little guy, get their way, and I'm not having it on my watch, not one bit. This is a mind-blowing read coming in from Daily Mail. Shout out Josh Boswell for getting some great scoops here. Speaking to previous employees of Blake Lively from her lifestyle brand Preserve, which she was doing as a Gwyneth Paltrow's goop, similar to what Meghan Markle's doing right now with As Ever. Now, before we get into this explosive expose, look how Deadline, which is the trades, out there covering for Blake. This is a disingenuous charade. Blake Lively mocks Justin's long-delayed HR probe of her harassment claims. This is like a completely written by Team Blake, her publicists, etc. Going in there, it's everything. They threw out the extortion things. Nobody threw it out. The letter may have been slightly improper, but it did what it was supposed to do, and the truth is going to come out. They can try to deny it and do whatever they want with these press tricks that they're trying to do. The reality is, clearly, Taylor's team is fed up, and they're doing everything they can to distract from it, including, look at this, a bold comment from Blake's lawyers about all of these. Does anyone believe that Wayfair is genuinely investigating a film set workplace that no longer exists? Wayfair is now suddenly interested in conducting a workplace investigation. Here's a reminder of some of the things Blake Lively erased years ago during the filming of the movie, all of which are alleged in the amend complaint. Now, here's the problem, Blake. You actually didn't file any complaints with HR. You didn't. You alluded to maybe a couple of these things and then later used these to take over the film. The truth is, if all this was so true, which many of it has been proven not to be true, why did you finish the movie? Why would you let such a scumbag make such an important movie and then let him keep his name on it? You, Miss Feminist, out there trying to save the world, you let this guy do it? And profit off of it? Why? So you could profit off it too, because you knew this movie had potential to be a hit. But then when all the press went sideways, it was retaliation. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. You are proving why so many people don't like you. And that's not his fault. That's a you problem. So meanwhile, Deadline and the trades are out there just simping for Blake like crazy. Now, perhaps this is Team Justin tipping off the Daily Mail. It's so clear both sides are tipping off each other to stay relevant, and they're preparing their own sort of arrows to shoot out when they need to. But I got to say, Justin's side has way better arrows. They do. And this one's wild because as she's out there making all these complaints about what an unsafe workplace it ends with us was, which for the record, I've spoken to dozens of crew members, it wasn't. And stay tuned. We'll talk more about that in the documentary, which you guys can still promote over on our store. Become an investor today. We are deep in production. We're still shooting some new upcoming interviews. It's still happening, but become an investor. Click the pack, read the instructions, and you get your name in the movie and support what we're doing. So, and I'll also just future documentaries, please support. But let's get to the main story. I've delayed enough. This is the inside story, okay? Blake Lively's disastrous attempt to copy Gwyneth Paltrow. That's not the headline. She tried to cover up actual employment complaints. Literally the same thing she's here on Deadline trying to do. And they really did an investigation. Let's throw it right back at you. Like, how did you do a proper HR investigation when apparently your brother was sleeping with the employees, doing substances, all terrible complaints that are happening in your horrible lifestyle brand that crashed and burned. And you had 3 employees filing legal complaints afterwards after they were all let go and fired for mistreatment. But what about that one? Did you do any proper investigations then, Blake? I'm curious, because if we're going to hold people accountable, right? If we're going to be man enough, Ryan, if we're going to be man enough, can we call out Blake's brother? Or is that something else you tried desperately to cover up with your own publicity team? Let's go through it. As the boss of the company, 43-year-old Eric, was running Preserve, which was Blake Lively's lifestyle brand, out of his apartment, which was owned by Blake's brother, where he allegedly drank alcohol, smoked pot, frequently let staff out of the cold when he overslept and forced them to work sitting on the floor for months before buying furniture. 43-year-old Eric, who got married in 2005, even had an affair with one of the employees. 3 former staffers told the entire company was an absolute disaster. The workplace allegations that Blake is making now against Justin Baldoni are deeply ironic, given that it was one of the most insane, toxic, emotionally draining, and disorganized environments you could imagine. Oh, but he looked you in the eyes while you were breastfeeding. Why'd you let him in the trailer? My God, girl, you were doing power trips. Oh, but he looked at me in the eyes while I was getting body paint removed. He wasn't even looking at your body. Oh my God, these complaints make you look so ridiculous. But here she is, victim, feminist, icon, anti-racist, who got married on a plantation and gave money and then bought a Time Award. So here's this lovely, lively family, which I will say off the record, I've gotten tips about this family, and people despise them. Way before this, they label this family narcissistic, egomaniac, awful, celebrity, the worst of celebrity you can imagine. So here's Blake with her brother and her mother, her hero of a mom who stood up and maybe stole that story. Anyway, the impression Blake left on me when I worked at Preserve is that she doesn't care. It really was a toxic work environment. Staff spoke anonymously, fearing backlash from Lively for calling out the shambolic and inappropriate work environment. Many were asked to sign NDAs about the dramatic implosion of the company. Interesting. Some were also said to have received settlements up to $300,000 after threatening legal action. Yeah, 3 of 8. And yet not even a whisper leaked to the press, supposedly thanks to the work of Blake's fastidious publicist, Leslie Sloan. There she is, who is currently also embroiled with the legal battle. God, Leslie, you really getting paid enough to keep simping for Blake? Man, the skeletons you have in your closet for her. Leslie Sloan shut it down, a staffer claimed. They buried every single thing from that company. They have. It's hard to find. You got to go deep into the web to find the slave muffins that she made. This was so embarrassing. So she partnered up with this businessman to make Preserve, made stupid blog posts and this earthy recipes, artisanal apparel with Polaroid promotional snaps of Blake. We believe that nurturing a better tomorrow upholds the yesterday we cherish for all of us. About Us on the About Us page. But staff claim that when Blake's brother became involved in leadership roles, things went downhill fast. Now, he was an actor on some little shows, etc. But this goop, here was sort of a homepage of what Preserve looked like at the time. This brand under his leadership and Blake's guidance became a disaster. So after they moved to his apartment, he hired a bunch of 20-somethings with digital marketing, and it turned next year was a reign of chaos. Eric was completely unqualified. There were a lot of ways in which the employment was unprofessional. For many weeks or months, there were no desks. We had to sit on the floor. It was a big studio. There wasn't a delineation between living quarters and working quarters. The bed was part of the same room. Does that sound appropriate, Blake? Does that sound like something that's appropriate? Interesting how you're so vocal about Justin and these so-called incidents, but you wouldn't call out your own brother, huh? You wouldn't actually do a proper investigation then. Interesting, huh? There was a whiteboard, but it wasn't furnished. I felt like he was being an actor, acting like the part of creative director of the company. One day, suddenly out of nowhere, you need to put together a strategy and present it tomorrow. Then we show up for work the next day and he's asleep. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? They were left out in the cold on mornings, waiting for him to let them into his apartment. People would be outside in the cold and he wouldn't let them in because he was still lying in bed smoking a bowl. He was taking lots of pills. He was openly smoking, drank. This sounds appropriate, Blake. This is your company. And you never took accountability. You just paid everybody off. We'd get in the office and you'd be smoking. It was clear he partied the night before. While he was charismatic, convincing, you wanted to be around him. You don't know what you're in for when you're around him. We were subjected to his moods and whims. Those were very dysregulated. There was anger. You had to walk on eggshells. Sounds like somebody else. A lot of things I've heard about you, Blake. There was no one with a sane mind watching over us. Eric would just tell us to do random things. We'd have random meetings that went nowhere. They talk about the horror stories of photo shoots. You can go read the full article. And how Blake showed up to style the shoots, but all she did was add some bracelets to a photo. That was her only input. So she was doing nothing. There was fashion suits running amok. Anyway, yada, yada. You go read this whole, it's amazing. I want to get to this last part. There were noise complaints, etc. Three staff members told Daily Mail that Eric had a actual relation with one of his employees. Is that allowed or appropriate, Blake? Just asking, because he's married and he was doing that. Again, is that appropriate to be doing it with this is so alleged wife, who unclear whether she knows. I don't really want to get involved in all that, but I'm sure she, figured it out at some point. And unclear if they're still together. She didn't respond for comment, but I just wonder, Blake, is this goes with you though? You do this a lot, seemingly on your sets. Anyway, paychecks were haphazard. Staff members were unable to afford subway fares to get to work. Blake had been juggling work, pregnancy with her first child. Sounds like something, huh? Always juggling those kids. Always got to have like a million kids. And her spending time with her husband in Vancouver. By spring, she was traveling back to New York City, appearing in Times Square to promote her movie. At their wits' end, they tried to arrange a meeting with Blake in 2015 at the spring. Sounds like the same kind of meeting you put with Justin, Blake. And all the employees confronted her, and she immediately shut it down. She said she wouldn't be entertaining anything about her brother. The entire meeting was about Eric, and Blake just didn't want to hear anything about it. It went nowhere. When they went to have the meeting, Blake didn't care about any of it and didn't want to hear about any of it, which is why some employees ended up going through with legal action. So they actually filed complaints, Blake, unlike you. Unlike trying to take over our movie, they actually did the proper protocol. But what happened? They threatened to sue, and that's when the publicists and everybody stepped in, and settlements came in. Allegedly, one up to $300,000 to shut it all up and to protect her brother. Some sources close to the company said multiple legal actions launched. All were asked to sign non-DAs. The shutdown was reported in 2015. Many articles mocking its pretentiousness. What a surprise. And this is where it gets really amazing. How rich. In an interview with Time magazine in June 2015, History with Time, Blake blamed the brand's lackluster launch on sexism in the media. They pit women against each other. You don't see male entrepreneurs being pitted against each other, destroyed, being picked apart, and every word they say served up to judge. Man, so ever since 2015, she's been pleading to Time to save her narrative and make it her own narrative and blame sexism and racism and everything else. It was also because of the Vogue cover shoot. She had to rush it. I can't call Anna Wintour and tell her I need 6 more months. Oh, boo-hoo. So anyway, they all remained silent for a long time. And then finally, after seeing what happened with Baldoni and all this bullshit on It Ends With Us, they spoke up. It's so ironic that she filed a workplace lawsuit when her workplace had 3 legal claims. 3 out of roughly 8 employees made legal claims. 3 out of 8. She didn't care to understand how the mismanagement of her brother could be affecting us. She's entitled and extremely out of touch and really only cares about herself. And then the one person who said nice things, she was always nice to me, says a third. But you would think that for somebody so concerned with their image and narrative, there would have been more care taken to make sure things were more professional. But yeah, let's focus on Justin and It Ends With Us because you got some bad press. Then now we all pull off all the stops to prove you're right and how bad it is. But what about the incidents with your brother? Why aren't you talking about that? Huh? Let's leave that out there. Make sure you spread the word on this because not a lot of outlets report on this one. And I think the hypocrisy is important to note. Also, make sure you've hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the bell. Make sure you are subscribed. And when you check, hit that bell so you get those notifications. And when you do, hit the thumbs up. Leave a comment. We're also covering the Diddy trial. A lot of stuff today. Cassie's mom, Diddy's ex-assistant. We're covering it all. So make sure you support it. And if you really want to help support, you can become an investor of our documentary, which is coming this summer. Stay tuned. We're very excited about it. Pick up the investor pack. You get your name in the credits as well as get some exclusives. Thank you guys so much for watching. A lot more is coming and we'll be live later today to go through today's Diddy trial recap.